Hello and welcome back to the Confidence and Beauty Summit, real root cause resolutions that reverse women's hair loss naturally.
I am your host, Surreal Vasquez, a multi-certified functional medicine practitioner that is literally obsessed with reversing hair loss naturally. And as the CEO and founder of Belcanix, we bring you this summit today to share our vision of a world where hopeless hair loss is a thing of the past, and every woman has an opportunity to burst through her limiting beliefs while embodying a new truth that will set her free. And that truth is hair loss is reversible. Today, I am welcoming Dr. Sam Price.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. We're happy to have you and your amazing energy. And guys, she looks so young and you know she's doing something right. So as a recognized authority in natural medicine and a licensed concierge naturopathic oncologist, Dr. Sam Price, also known as Dr. Sam, embodies the pinnacle of expertise. Her exceptional grasp of blood type science, the blood type diet, and its synergy with epigenetics and nutrigenomics sets her apart as a visionary in health and wellness. With her commitment to natural remedies and nutritional genetics, she dedicates extensive time to her patients, ensuring personalized care that delves into the underlying causes of their health concerns. Her approach fosters a balanced, vibrant lifestyle through actionable natural strategies, which I can't wait to talk about. Dr. Sam is celebrated as a 4-time #1 best-selling author, owner of a thriving practice, and a very niche one, I would say, and a luminary on her international stage, including being a TEDx speaker. Her contributions to the field include roles as a supplement formulator, sleep medicine specialist, and a wellness retreat orchestrator. Wow, that's so awesome. Additionally, she is an esteemed conference producer and a mentor to physicians in concierge medicine. As a Rotarian, she exemplifies service and community engagement, further amplifying her impact. I'm so happy to have you here today, Dr. Price.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to share the gems with y'all.
And the reason I brought you on is because you're a naturopathic doctor, but you're not just a naturopathic doctor, you're a naturopathic oncologist.
Correct.
So I think that's very niche because typically when someone's thinking about cancer, they're thinking chemo, radiation. I'm not saying you don't use those things, but they're thinking that's the only path to health. And they're almost a little hesitant to try naturopathic things because they're thinking, gosh, like, what if that doesn't work? And this is my one chance to beat this thing, right?
Yes.
So how did you get into this line of work? Why did you choose that? Even though we're so happy you did.
As a naturopathic physician, in my practice, I treat the person and not the actual condition. So I had a patient that came to me for something else and we were doing great. And then she got a diagnosis of cancer. So of course, I'm going to help with that. So in learning and studying and really being the concierge physician that I am, because that is my sole priority, is that patient, right? I had to do some research and really learn more about oncology and what are the side effects of this chemo? What do we do for this? How do we prevent the hair loss? How do we do X, Y, and Z? And she did really good. And so since she did really good, more and more people came until the practice became predominantly oncology. So I do integrative medicine where I'm working with the oncologist, and oftentimes they're referring to me because many people that have cancer want alternative therapies and other things to help the chemo and the other things become more effective, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like they needed chemo for a reason in the first place.
Correct.
So just relying on conventional therapies that are kind of what got them there, maybe?
Yeah. There's a lot of side effects too from chemotherapy, right? So the oncologist's job or the conventional medical doctor's job is kill the cancer. That's it. There's no nutrition. They might kill the patient. Right. There's no nutrition. There's all the side effects. And they're like, but we're killing the cancer. But what about your quality of life? What about your hair, right? What about that? That's what we're here to talk about, right? So,
right. Yeah. And so that's how you came along. So, and what I thought was the most interesting part about everything that we've spoken to before the camera started recording is that you discovered somehow, some way, this like very special, very niche strategy that you walk your clients through to help them preserve the majority of their hair, or maybe make their hair come back better than before,
Yes.
or whatever the case is. So for those of you who don't know, the reason why these medications that are associated with oncology and treating the patient, so radiation, it would be, right, Dr. Price?
Chemo really is the one that is the driving force. So
Yeah, so when people do chemotherapy, they usually lose their hair, and so the reason they experience that is because the chemotherapy is targeting any cell in the body that is rapidly replicating.
you are right.
Yeah, since we're not born with the same hair that we have now, the only way that came to be is because these cells are rapidly replicating, right? We shed.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And so that's an unfortunate side effect, but Dr. Sam came up with this unique technique that helps the patients like not suffer from that component as much. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the strategy is, what people can expect when they do it, how they do it, and all the intricacies around it?
I'm super happy to introduce this to those who do not know about it. So I didn't come up with it. That's first of all. So that's the disclaimer. If you've already gone through chemo, you can't do it. If you are just starting chemo, you can do this, and you need to talk to your physician immediately about this. It's 2 ways to preserve most of your hair if you're going to go through chemo. One is called cold capping. It literally is a hat that fits on your head really snug. It's like a helmet, and you use dry ice. So there's 3 different companies that I know of. There's Arctic, Chemo, Cold Caps, and Penguin. Those are the 3 that I know that do cold capping. So basically what it's going to do is you've got this ice cold, this dry ice that has to be in a cooler, a special type of cooler, and you're going to change the cap every 20 minutes. So you have to do the cap 1 hour before the chemo starts, and then every 20 to 30 minutes you're changing the cap because the ice is going to melt, right? So yes, you might get a little headache. So you need to be warm when you're in your chemo chair. This usually rents for about $399 a month. But for those of us who don't want to lose our hair, this pretty much can prevent most of the hair loss, if not all of the hair loss. So it's really, really important. There's some things that you have to do after you finish with the cold capping and things you do before the cold capping. The other one that I know of is called scalp cooling. So instead of changing the cap every 20 minutes, it's literally a computer controlled refrigerator machine that sits next to the chemo chair, and it's plugged in. So the gel in the cap that you have on it, it has to be fitted for you, circulates cool liquid throughout, so you don't have to keep changing it, right? So the 2 companies that do that are the Paxman system and the DigniCap system. I'm not sure how much that is. So normally if you're going to do this, you need a loved one, a friend, or someone beside you so they can change the caps for you, but they actually have people called cappers that are certified in this. So some of them are nurses and some of them are just trained in this, but most of the companies that offer this can give you a resource of that. The Rapunzel Project is a nonprofit organization that helps you possibly get funding for either the cold capping or the scalp cooling. Some things to know with that though is because now we're messing with the follicles and the hair, baby shampoo, very lightly combing and brushing the hair through this. No heat, no hot rollers, no flat irons, curlers, blow dryers, no heat during the whole time. You can't color your hair for 3 months afterwards, and you can't cut your hair during the process. So the reason why you have to start at your very first chemo treatment is because the chemo is automatically going inside the cells, right? So you're automatically going to start the hair loss process. So if you've already started, unfortunately, you can't do it now. But for those of you guys who are on here now who know somebody, a loved one, or you haven't started the process and are about to, I'm going to highly suggest that you talk to your physician about cold capping or scalp cooling systems. And sometimes insurance may pay for it, but usually not.
I feel like this is the cutting edge of like why it's better to have hair loss in 2025 than any other year to date.
Absolutely, sister. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, not just because of that, because that's, the solution for people with chemo, which is crazy how we have solutions for everyone, but just because we just know so much more about
Absolutely.
the real root causes of hair loss and thinning. And so, with that being said, I'm really curious to know what other tricks you have up your sleeve with helping your patients, because I understand that since your practice is virtual, you need to have some kind of metric, some kind of way for patients to be able to gauge whether or not they are living a lifestyle that is conducive to healing, conducive to a lack of susceptibility to a reoccurrence of cancer. And so if they're not going to be constantly taking lab tests themselves, then they need a way to be able to track, like, am I succeeding or am I, posing a danger to myself? So what way do you have to help teach your clients just good health hygiene, so to speak, so that they're living with vital force? So I heard you use that
I
term
am
before.
so happy you asked me that. This is like my signature thing, and I absolutely love it. I think that everybody should abide by this. It is called the vital approach. And the reason why is because in naturopathic medicine, we have something called we call it the vital force. It's the body's inherent ability to heal itself. So you would think in conventional medicine that that's more like your immune system, but it's not, because the vital force is something more. It's that oomph, it's that emotion, it's the physical, it's all of the things that make us healthy, right? And make us in homeostasis or balance, right? So because I do all telemedicine, I'm not taking your vitals, right? So your height, your weight, your blood pressure, those type of things. So I came up with my own acronym of VITAL, VITAL, and I take my patients' vitals each time we talk. So the V is for vital sleep. So this is what I did my TEDx talk on. I did my TEDx talk on sleep. Sleep is medicine. If you can't do anything else, you need to regulate your sleep hygiene, right? But more importantly, because we're talking about hair loss right now, I really want to impart the knowledge that magnesium and MSM specifically reduce stress, and stress is a big cause of sleep hygiene issues, right? So we want to improve the quality of your sleep, and we want to minimize that cortisol, that hormone, cortisol, which is the stress hormone driven hair loss. So, story time. In medical school, I'm studying for my board exams, and that is stressful, y'all. I can't even explain it to you. And I'm just like, you know that picture, right? So I'm just stressed out studying for my board exams, and like I didn't realize it, but I've got clumps of hair coming out. I had the cortisol driven hair loss and didn't even realize it. And I was like, you know what? Bump this. I'm just going to cut it all off. But that's because I'm not sleeping and I'm stressed out and whatnot. Magnesium and MSM do such a great job of that. But that's the V. That's the V in my vital.
And what I think is also interesting about sleep and hair loss is I have a number one, Dr. Bejoy John, and he talks at length about sleep and all these different things that people could do to increase their sleep. So we kind of got that covered. But I also spoke to Dr. Christine Schaffner, and she was talking about the glymphatic system, which is like the time where your brain shrinks literally by 60%.
Yes.
And so it does that so that you can drain all of the lymphatics around the cranial area and down your neck. And if you don't get high quality sleep or enough sleep, that process doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen well. And then you end up getting congestion around your cervical lymph nodes, your tonsils, if you still have them. I don't have mine. But then what ends up happening is, because this is not flowing well, then the scalp, the lymphatic or the lymph nodes on your face don't flow well. And we also have lymph nodes, and we have a lymphatic system on our scalp. And so that doesn't flow well. And so you end up creating this unnecessary experience in your body where you're having less blood flow to your scalp simply because you aren't sleeping. And let's not even mention
you didn't sleep.
The circadian rhythm is another thing too, and just like how that helps with balancing your hormones. And we already know that there's a huge connection between hormones and hair loss. And so you did touch on the cortisol part, and that's the thing when people don't realize, when they're not, like, for instance, right now as I'm hosting the summit, I find myself working late at night. And so I start getting that tiredness, but then I ignore it. And then my body hits me with cortisol, which is not the best thing to do, everyone. This is just an emergency. I'm
Right.
trying to bring you as many speakers as possible. But it's good to know that I can use MSM and magnesium during a time like this to try to modulate that response so that my body is able
Correct.
to be in a healing state and grow hair. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
great. Okay, what's the I in the acronym?
Okay, so we did V, now we're on I. So I is for individualized diet. So you read in my bio, I did my residency with Peter Diadamo, so have a blood type science background, and really nutrigenomics. So how do we use food as medicine, right? But when we're talking about hair loss, I think it's important to highlight the nutrients like zinc, selenium, boron, and I'm sure you've talked about it a million times on the summit right now, but these really replenish the deficiencies commonly linked to hair thinning, right? The thinning of the hair, not necessarily like the loss, but the thinning of the hair. So selenium, zinc, and boron, I think is really crucial when we're thinking about that individualized diet. We could go on and on talking about the blood type diet and other individualized diets and whatnot, but because we're talking about hair loss, I really wanted to highlight those three.
You know, when oftentimes in private practice, I'll ask my clients to do a zinc assay test. So they take a little cap of zinc and they swallow it. And if they have this metallic taste that's delayed, then we know they're deficient. And pretty much like 100% of the time, they don't have that metallic taste until some time. And so it is very prevalent to have low zinc.
It's a chronic condition.
Yeah, while you're dealing with hair loss issues. And selenium, forget it. I mean, that's another thing that is highly needed when it comes to just having everything that you need, the building blocks and whatnot. So that's that. So we have sleep, we have diet, individualized diet. And I think the thing about the individualized diet too is people being able to understand that they're less symptomatic based on what they eat.
Absolutely. Anti-inflammatory, genetic based. It's just really crucial to get it right when it comes to eating. Food is our medicine. You're either eating foods that are poisonous or you're eating foods that are medicine. So
awesome. Okay, so what is T?
T is for thorough hydration. And so we do hair tissue mineral analysis to look for heavy metals, but really the minerals, right? I think that hydration is crucial because one, if you're dehydrated, you've got headaches, you've got fatigue, you've got fuzzy thinking, you have joint issues, you might have constipation if you're dehydrated. But when we talk about hair loss and thinning and regrowing the hair, horsetail, camu, these really hydrate the actual strands of the hair and it reduces the dryness and the breakage of the hair. So we want to think of hydrating the entire scalp and the hair strands.
Okay, awesome. And I love that you're giving us all these clinical pearls on the types of, whether you call it supplements or nutrients or whatever, that are available to us to help strengthen our ability to kind of just be as vital as we can and just look as beautiful as we can at any age. And so also on hydration, I did want to bring up that magnesium and calcium are actually good at bringing hydration on the cellular level, because sometimes people, they'll drink water, but for some reason they still feel thirsty, or they're just not getting all the benefits of drinking that amount of water. And it's because the water isn't actually getting in the cell. And so when you bring in magnesium and calcium, it helps open up the cell so you can hydrate yourself on a cellular level. That was another one I wanted to bring up. So what is A in Vital?
A in Vital is for active mental health. So we talk a lot in my practice and to my patients about, what are you thinking? Your mind and the way that you think and whatnot definitely has a physical effect on your body. So specifically for hair, I think of manganese and vanadium. They help to balance those hormones, and we already talked about it, but we got to lower that stress level to prevent the excess shedding that also happens with hair loss and regrowing and whatnot. So manganese and vanadium, those are also really good for blood sugar regulation, but I think of them balancing the hormones and stress levels and things like that. But I also love for active mental health is alternate nostril breathing, balancing the parasympathetic and sympathetic. I like tapping. So that is tapping is called emotional freedom technique is the true name for it. Yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, all of those things are absolutely fabulous. They also help to lower stress. But if you need a little we can do the manganese and the vanadium.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that in this culture, people are used to thinking for every ill, there's a pill. And while there is kind of some truth to that, if we don't also incorporate some of these other healing modalities,
Correct.
like sufficient sleep and sufficient water, or even the quality of water, because that makes a difference too, then you're not going to get as much of a benefit from just focusing on like, oh well, what pills I have to take for that. And I know that at the end we're going to talk about like one supplement that kind of has all these things together, which I'm so happy about, because there's no way that I would ever want to just go buy all of these things and like not know like what's the right proportion and how much, and and to be able to get the clinical benefit. But I wanted to bring up the fact that yes, with the parasympathetic state, I'm glad you brought up the nostril thing, because you can shift your parasympathetic state just from your breathing. And I have an example of that. One time I was laying down, sleeping, and then all of a sudden I heard like a pop outside. It's my air conditioner.
Scary.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what, ever since I bought it, it came with the house. Like it just would randomly pop. But for some reason I heard it during my sleep. And so I woke up and I was like, I was still working on my health. So my heart rate variability wasn't amazing at this point, but I heard that. And so I woke up like, which is an indicator of and the sympathetic state. How your body knows you're stressed out. Like you have to breathe that way when you're running a lot, getting more oxygen in and everything. So I woke up like that. And so when I realized there was no harm, I was really focused on my breathing to get myself back to sleep. I couldn't just go back to sleep. At this point, my mind was racing. And so I had to just kind of just focus on breathing slow.
Good.
To shift me back into sympathetic state. So that's another trick trick and tip for our listeners today when they're stressed out. Okay, so what's the L?
So L in the vital approach is lymphatic flow. So I think of lymphatic flow as detoxing, but not necessarily like your dumps or cleansing that people do, like, oh, I'm going to do a monthly cleanse or something like that. I think that people should do daily detoxing. And what I mean by daily detoxing is being very mindful of what you put in your mouth. That's that individualized diet, making sure it's genetic based and you really understand food as medicine. What you're putting on your skin, your makeup, your shampoo, your conditioner, your deodorant, as opposed to antiperspirant. We don't want to block the ducts, right? Being mindful of not only what's in your mouth, on your skin, what are you looking at? What's the news that you're hearing? Who are you around? What are you consuming as your source of information, right? So lymphatic flow is really important. Getting it moving. So you can do rebounding, you can do dry skin brushing, you can do saunas, you can do all of that. But when I think of hair loss and regenerating the hair, copper and cayenne really enhance the circulation, and it delivers oxygen and nutrients to your scalp, which accelerates the growth, right? So my patients who are going through chemo and possibly losing their hair, as soon as they're done, they're like, how do I grow my hair back faster, right? So and like you said, it's not all about a pill for every ill. But sometimes, and I use it just as it is, it's a supplement to everything else that you're doing, lifestyle, diet, the vital approach, right? To increase your vital force. So yes, we need sometimes a little bit help to accelerate that growth, the scalp, growth, right? So that would be your copper and your cayenne that's going to enhance the circulation and the delivery of the oxygen.
I love this acronym so much, and I love just how thoughtful the whole workup of it is. And I will say that I always tell my clients there's 5 non-negotiables to reversing hair loss naturally, and I think you pretty much covered them all because there was there's circulation, which is the circulation of the blood and lymph. There's blood sugar balance. There's inflammation. So
All of it.
gut healing, which is diet, sleep, which is the other one. So all of that really is something that you are supplementing the approach when you incorporate these different supplements to all the other stuff that you were doing. So I know that you have this product that you formulated for your clients that were dealing with chemo, and I know that a lot of them were complaining about their hair. And so you took into account, well, what does hair necessarily need to grow? And how can I assist them through this process? So you have the cold capping to help them with that. But essentially anyone who's dealing with hair loss and thinning could benefit from having assistant vitamins and minerals that are going to facilitate these processes. And I can tell you that I had Dr. Peter Glyden here, who was actually a naturopathic physician, and he said that he had clients that reversed their graying by supplementing with copper.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about your derm products and kind of what led you to create it and what kind of experiences are your clients or your patients having with it.
yeah, so it's unlike any other hair supplement. It's called Derm Support because it's hair, skin, and nails. But I think it goes beyond the surface level of fixing things. It really addresses the true root cause of hair loss, right? Because we're using bioavailable, highly absorbable, chelated minerals, which gives you maximum efficacy, right? So it's really effective as opposed to like having to take a million different things and pills. It's all in one, right? So it's making sure that your hair is not thinning, growing thicker, healthier hair is what you want in the process. So that is what it is. And I think that it's a lovely product.
Yeah, I mean, what I love about it is that it's not necessarily labeled as like a hair supplement, because I think that a lot of people kind of get caught up in that. Some manufacturers get caught up on that because they're thinking about the marketing component of it, and they're like, oh, it's going to be the right price point and the right words, and then my target client is going to find it. But for you, it came more of a place of service.
Yes.
Where your patients were complaining about their hair, and you knew that these rapidly replicating cells were going to be targeted with chemo.
Yep.
And so you wanted to create something that could just facilitate better results for them faster, because let's face it, women with hair loss, I mean, that's just devastating for us.
It is. It is. That's our crown. That's our crown, you know? So I think what I was looking for was to promote hair growth and strength, right? So that's the biotin, the MSM, the silica, the keratin, all of that stuff that's in there is to help to promote the hair growth and the strength. I wanted to support the scalp's health and the circulation. So that's your zinc, your selenium, your copper. It nourishes the scalp. It strengthens those follicles. I wanted to reduce the shedding and the breakage. I think a lot of us complain about that. Like, okay, I'm seeing it in my brush, right? So antioxidants like the camu that I mentioned, the manganese, they fight the oxidative stress that preventing the hair loss, right? And then I wanted to boost the collagen and the hydration. I talked about that a little bit, but that's the horsetail and the MSM to support the elasticity and the hydration and the resilience. You know, those people who have that body and it's like, oh, like your hair is beautiful, right?
Oh, thank you.
And then really important to enhance the blood flow and for maximum growth, if you want maximum growth. So that's that cayenne pepper that stimulates the circulation. It brings the vital nutrients to the hair follicles.
I mean, if you don't have hair going to the follicle, that's where you get miniaturization. That's where you get the lack of regrowth.
Yes.
It's actually probably the most relevant and most important real root cause is the lack of, blood flow to the scalp. So all of that, I can see why you thought of it and why you put it together that way. And I think the heart of service that you had and the moment that you came up with that is what's most admirable in the situation, because it wasn't like you were dealing with your own hair loss, and I guess I'm kind of like, that's what happened with me. I was like, thinking about it, I was like,
I wish it was around when I was in medical school.
I know. But the fact that you were like, my patients, like they're, I see how it's affecting their self-esteem.
Yeah.
So I want to do something for them. So, and they get the added benefit of having their nails grow and the skin look good. So I had to have you on the summit because no one else was talking about chemotherapy and why it affects hair growth. And if you're in that unfortunate situation, what can you do, to try to save the hair that you have or have it regrow better than it did before? Is there any information that you can share about your practice and your clients with cancer and their experience with hair as opposed to what's traditional or what you see elsewhere or anything like that that's helped give people perspective as far as like how there's a difference?
Yeah. So as far as hair loss, so I have some that do the cold capping and some that don't, right? So the ones that do the cold capping are those diehards, like I'm not going to do chemo if I'm going to lose my hair, right? So
that would be me if it came down to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the cold capping is a whole nother alternative to their whole thought process that even their oncologist wasn't even thinking or wasn't going to tell them about. So it's such a relief that there's something that might save a portion of their hair. It gives them hope. And it's always, I think what I try to instill is there are options. There are options is what I want to give my patients. And so for those that were really concerned about, I don't want to lose my hair, and so therefore I'm not going to do this, we've come to an impasse. It's called integrative medicine. Now we're taking the alternative and the traditional and we're marrying it. So it's really lovely that they were able to do the treatment and not lose their hair, right? For patients in general, I think that integrative medicine is amazing because you get the benefits of both conventional and alternative, that just gives you both, right? You don't have the side effects, or at least not as many side effects. And it's just a nice way to be able to still do the natural, but know that it's evidence-based and know that you have somebody in your corner that's advocating for you or helping you advocate for yourself, and still maintaining the integrity of your body, right? So oftentimes conventional can be very invasive, whereas we think of natural as not. So still being able to do part of the natural is really important to most people.
Yes. Oh, amazing. I feel so blessed that I got to spend this time with you and we got to pour into this community and really give them all this valuable information. And so we're going to make a link available in case anybody wants to go ahead and have more nutrients for their hair to have better hair growth, regardless if you have cancer or not, or chemotherapy or not, better nails, better skin, all of those things. But we're also going to, for people who upgrade to VIP, actually give them a 10% discount on that.
Yes, we will.
So whoever does take advantage of that, if you're going to buy it anyway, you might as well get all the other benefits plus the additional discount on that. And I wanted you to tell people where they could find out more about you, and then I'll ask you a closing question.
Absolutely. So I am on all social media at Dr. Sam ND. So that's DRSAMM. N as in naturopathic, D as in doctor. My website is drsamnd.com. Same thing. So all social media and my website. There you go.
Awesome. Good. And here's my closing question that I ask all my speakers. So there's a woman out there that's watching this, and she's either already wearing a wig or she's shopping for one. But at the very least, she hates the way she looks in pictures. She's obsessing about her hair, and she's just like, if I could only look the way I looked 5 years ago or 2 years ago even. And she's depressed because she's tried so many things and nothing has worked. Everything has just been a disappointment. And so she's faced with this task of, do I just give up and focus on acceptance so I can try to numb out some of the pain and it's not that I'm not so emotionally attached to the outcome? Or do I keep fighting for what I know I deserve and make a decision that I'm going to regrow my hair or die trying, no matter what anybody tells me. And so you can either just speak directly to her, or you can share a story where you experienced something that you did not expect, and you had no idea how in the world you were gonna get through this get through this problem. Sorry, it's late in the day. You had no idea you were going to get through this problem, but somehow, some way, you made a miracle happen. And it was because your reasons came first and then the results followed. So just speak to her right now.
So I am definitely a spiritual and religious person. So I definitely have to come at it from that way. And I would say that you are beautiful just the way you are. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but I see it, and other people see it, and God sees it. God created you this way. 20 years ago, He created you. He created you like you are right now. And 2 years from now, whatever that looks like, God already knew it. He doesn't make mistakes. So where you are right now is not a mistake. And I want you to live in it and grow through it and feel it and endure it. Take pictures. I have so many patients that take pictures of their bald head. They do glamour shots and they have these elaborate photo shoots, because guess what? In 2 years, they're not going to remember that. That was a dark time in their life. And they want to be able to remember, I got through that, right? So whether you regrow your hair or not, celebrate where you are right now in your life, because God put you there for a reason. And the most important thing is to celebrate yourself, because you're here. You're watching this. You're already doing something. There's such amazing information that's been given throughout the entire summit that now you have options. You can choose. I'm not going to do anything. I'm perfect just the way I am. Or you've got lots of options that have been given to you on this summit. And that's how I'm going to close.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. I love the part about encouraging people to take pictures too. I know that when I was going through my journey, I took a bunch of pictures and they looked really ugly. But I was just like, you know what? If I believe I'm going to reverse this,
Yes.
if I don't take pictures, no one's going to believe me. And just by doing that subconsciously, you send a message to your brain.
Yes.
And that message is not, oh no, I'm devastated and I just want to like focus on having this in my face so I feel better about it. But instead it's like, hey, where's the progress? How did it look better from
Right.
last time? What did I do right, or what did I do differently? And how is it, where's the area for opportunity? And so just looking at it from this angle of hopefulness, like I'm
Yes.
expecting something, I'm expecting regrowth when I take these pictures, I think is a powerful message to your subconscious mind. And we do share that faith-based component, actually. And we have that in common. So yeah, bringing God into the situation as well, I think is critical, because with Him, all things are possible, right? So
All things. He's great all the time.
all the time. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, listeners, for watching. And as she said, we hope that you catch all the other episodes and stay tuned. And we hope you upgrade to VIP so you can get all the amazing discounts and all the supplement guides and the information on how to eat and all the different perks that come with that. And we thank you for your time and attention. Bye-bye.